what's fun about this movie is that everybody might take something different away from it depending on how they feel about relationships and monogamy. After our premiere, somebody was tickled by the idea of monogamy. After our premiere, at the after party, 2 people came up to me and one of them said, "I loved the movie. At the end, I was sobbing." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because I want to love like that." And the guy she was with goes, "I thought it was horrifying." I was like, "Are you 2 together? Just friends? Or what's the story?" I'll never know.
I mean, in the same vein, it's like we've heard from a couple who was fighting leading up to a screening, and then they said watching the movie actually helped them make up. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've talked to people who are single who say this is a very strong argument for staying single. So it's really cool just to see all the different reactions.
You know, when you hear sort of the reaction that, oh my God, it just made us closer, like. Does that make you feel good? Like, was that your intention?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've heard both ways, because I also had somebody who, it's the second Sundance screening, came up to me afterwards and said, "My wife is begging me not to come talk to you, but I have to. This movie is about me and my wife, isn't it?" And I'm like, like feeling like John Lennon about to get shot or something. But, you know, I think that to me, this ending's kind of a happy ending in its own kind of bizarre way. Like, I've been with my partner now for almost 17 years, and so even though this is a thank you,
3 people probably.
Yeah. It's her and her parents. And
she said, "Honey, clap."
But like, there is, we meet this couple at a crossroads in their relationship where things aren't going on the same page at all, and sort of by the end of it, though, there is this sacrifice, this communion that's coming together. And I think as a big sort of like romantic softie, I sort of like this being its own kind of twisted kind of happy ending. Bit schmaltz in there.
You know, the 2 of you worked together before, but not like this. I mean, this is like really like super intense. But how did you each elevate each other so you could take bigger swings with your performances?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad that Dave and I got to ramp up to this. This is our 5th film that we've worked on together. So we had acted together a couple times. Dave has directed me twice. We wrote a film together. I feel like those projects, as well as just being together 13 and a half years, like it was all leading to this in a way. By the time we got to this set, we are a well-oiled machine, and there were certain things that were advantageous in terms of like just non-verbal communication is at an all-time high between us. But I always feel like Dave makes me a better actor because I can't lie to Dave. Like I even without him commenting at all, I'm gonna give my most truthful performance because I can feel if it's fake or whatever. He knows me better than anyone. And I also just think that we trust each other. You feel so far away, by the way. We're not that codependent, like whatever.
It's a residual for the movie.
Yeah, get closer. Could you get like into my clothes? But that trust going into a project like this where we knew we were gonna take these really big swings performance-wise was so helpful because we could just run at the material every day being like, well, Dave's here to pull me aside if I'm doing anything too crazy, and we just, I think, gave each other permission to go for it.
Yeah, and this movie is very intimate, and it would have been weird to get stuck inside of anyone else. But truly, like, there was every single day at the end of the day, we said to each other, like, we could not have made this with anyone else. And part of that is there were days where we were literally attached to each other with prosthetics for the entire day. We're going to the bathroom together, which, we've been married a long time and we've seen that, but we've never done it while touching and looking into each other's eyes. But yes, like Alison was saying, it's like we just feel so comfortable with each other, and when you feel that way on a set, it's just kind of, you just feel liberated to take more risks and try weird things, and that's when the best stuff comes.
Just to gas these 2 guys up for a second, we put them through hell on this shoot, and you never complained. You complained once, but you never complained twice. It was one time, it was a very sweet complaint. You guys had been splashing around in the water for like 6 takes or something. And I was like, oh, we can do a lot of that. And you're like, could this maybe please be the last take? We're very cold. And I was like, oh. And that was the meanest thing you ever said to me.
It is wild to think on this shoot where like we were getting, not physically injured, but like truly throwing our bodies around very literally on the set every day. That my memory is my most uncomfortable day was on the cave set, having to be wet and cold.
That was not my most comfortable day. Naked in the shower, flinging my face against hard porcelain, climbing, this is a weird one, but like climbing out of the cave, that little rope, those little ropes, they really fuck you up. So I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go as high as I can. So I did the first take and I got pretty high up and I was like, okay, we got it.
It was extremely impressive.
And my hands were starting to like kind of rip open, but I was like, okay. And Shanks comes over and he's like, one of the crew members' shadows was in the shots. So I took a moment, I was like, all right, fuck it, let's go again. So I go again, and this time, I get pretty high, I was pretty proud of myself again, but I come down and my hands are gushing blood, and you don't realize how much you use your hands until you can't use your hands. And I have bandages, 9 Band-Aids on my palms for the next week.
But it is a true testament to Dave's commitment in so many ways, because like there is a rig you can use to put under people's clothes.
Doesn't look real.
It doesn't look real. You're just like floating. You're Spider-Manning up the side of the building. Like it's true. It's very authentic, honey.
It's really true that like I think we were 3 days into the shoot, and like I care so much about this film because it was my passion project. But you never know with the rest of the crew what they're gonna kind of react to it. They kind of do this all year round and different things. And I think it was like 3 days in where this like a crusty old crew member who's been an Australian crew member who's been working for 44 bloody years just comes up to me and says, "These are the 2 best actors I've ever bloody worked with." And it was just 100% truth. Also, about halfway through, my agent called me and said, like, they've ruined actors for you, right? Like, it's never going to be that good again. So, thanks.
So, how many shooting days? Where did you shoot? How long was your first cut?
21 days was the whole shoot, which is extremely short for the amount of, like, stunts and, like, effect sequences. We shot it in Melbourne, Australia, where I live, so I could go home and see my cat every night. And it was mostly on location, because we again, from the get-go, I thought, hey, we'll build this house. That'll be great, but we couldn't afford that. So we had to find a real house. The only sets that we built were the cave scene, obviously, that needed to be constructed, but also the bathroom, the shower for Dave to throw himself around in, just for boring reasons. But how long was the first cut? Probably not that much longer than it ended up. So the film, I think the runtime is 94 minutes. But it was one of those things where there wasn't a scene that we filmed that we then cut out. Because of the low budget nature of the film, we had to make all those decisions before we shot, because we couldn't shoot anything extra. So, I mean, it probably would have been a few minutes longer, but it was never too much. My memory is from the first, like, we just only had enough footage to really kind of make the movie that was in the script, and that's basically what's here. Obviously, we refined the edit, made it better over certain iterations, but there wasn't like, a 2.5 hour cut that we pulled down.
Okay, so in terms of just you banging your head against the wall and everything, what was the most difficult scene to shoot?
I mean, I do think of the bathroom scene. The bathroom scene was my favorite scene in the script. It is my favorite scene in the movie. I guess it only stands out because I'm not even sure if it was the most difficult day, but it caught me the most by surprise. Like, there were other days we would gear up for, the hallway scene, the driveway sequence, where it was like, this is gonna be a crazy day. I think the bathroom sequence, also we had shot other stuff that morning, we were supposed to shoot other stuff that night. It was kind of like, now we'll shoot this quick sex scene in the bathroom, no problem. But the tension, this whole movie, the physical nature about it was so different than other things Dave and I have worked on, and we've done a lot of physical stuff, but because the nature of this movie is like, the monster of the movie is not like a axe murderer that's chasing us, it's within our own bodies. So just playing that tension could be incredibly exhausting. The claustrophobic nature of shooting in the bathroom stall, And probably mostly Dave's fake sweat that was like this glycerin they kept putting on him, and then he was mashing his face against my face, and
She
I was
didn't
like,
like that.
can you stop?
Um,
But it was exhausting.
It was. I can talk about the hair scene. So we did like 95% of that practically, just shoving hair down my throat. And I remember after a few takes, Shanks came up to me and he was like, "Hey, on the next take, don't do the dry heaving thing." And I'm like, "I'm not trying to, dude. I'm fucking dying over here." But we actually made a bust of me, so like from the chest up, so we could do the final like ripping the hair out of the throat, because that would have been too dangerous for me. So there was this bust floating around of me that like had levers coming out of the bottom that monitored how much my mouth was opening and closing. It was very strange, and you would
Very like photorealistic bust of Dave that would sit on set just like this.
yeah. And
You can imagine we all had a little bit of fun.
Yeah. But you might not imagine that Shanks was the one who actually took it home with him, and now it's on his office wall behind him on all his Zoom meetings.
It lives with me now.
By the way, I saw that when Kover, he had the BTS shot of it. It's like, whoa, I didn't realize that was a prop.
Yeah.
You thought it was really Dave hanging on the wall and
To me, that was my most I can't believe people are letting us do this scene was the first time where we're doing the close up of Dave, the kind of jump scare where you turn the light on and you're like, oh, like I was just cackling. I was like, who the fuck is letting us do this? This is so like, crazy that like it was just such like an Evil Dead style image or something that I was so happy with it.
When you're making an independent film, the concept of rehearsal is a luxury. So especially when it came to the day where you shot the scene or the couple of days, when you were shooting the scene where you guys were being dragged across the floor, did you have time to rehearse even that scene because of all the kind of choreography that went to it?
I don't remember us really rehearsing it,
A
but
little bit of like Wyatt
talking
testing.
through stuff with our stunt coordinator. But the invaluable thing was that Shanks storyboarded everything. He had the whole film storyboarded, and most especially that hallway sequence. And that was everything.
Yeah, that was actually the first, fun fact, that was the first scene I wrote for the whole movie, because once I had the premise, I wanted to know like, oh, what does a scene look like? If this is the premise, what's a set piece? And then once I kind of just wrote that scene, which is still pretty much very similar to what it was in the first draft, I thought, oh, I like the scene, therefore I think it's worth kind of figuring out what the story is, who these characters are, it's worth fleshing out.
And you also, in addition to doing the storyboarding, you also did some of the visual effects.
Yeah, so I did a lot of the visual effects myself. I did about 150 shots, and we have about 175, 180 shots in the whole film. But that's, thank you. But, you know, it was luckily that I had that kind of skill set in my back pocket. That's kind of how I've been able to make kind of indie, even with like short form sketch comedy stuff kind of for years, is by just learning those techniques. Like I taught myself visual effects as a writing tool because I didn't want to be limited by what I could afford. And if I knew that I could afford anything because I'd do it myself, then it would never impact a script. And my plan wasn't to do that many VFX, but we just had no money, and I didn't want to cut the shots. And it freed us up to give all of our money over to people like Framestore, who did 14 shots in the film. But those are the big transformation, like teams of animators working on it. I wouldn't even know where to start with that stuff. So
When I saw it for the first time, I was, I read the sort of synopsis in the Sundance program. I was like, okay, it's going to be a good horror thriller. I'm ready for it. I wasn't expecting the humor. Did the humor, was that written, or did that just come out through your performances? Like, was that sort of improvised even?
No, I think everything was pretty much on the page. Good?
Yeah.
Okay. But we didn't go into this movie ever thinking like, okay, we're gonna sell these jokes. It's like, it's not jokey. It's not like we're doing a bunch of one-liners. It's more like the humor is coming from the fact that we're in the most bizarre scenarios you could imagine, and we're gonna play it as grounded and as real as possible, as if this is actually happening to us. And because it's so fucking bizarre, hopefully you'll get some humor from that. And then in addition to that, it's like, you know, if you've been in a long-term relationship, hopefully, or maybe you can relate to these moments where our characters are just kind of having these moments where we're bickering with each other. Again, even when really crazy things are happening, like we fall into this bizarre cave and there's church pews in the walls, and she looks at me and she's like, "Why do you have a lighter?" And it's like, that doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you reminded me recently that if there was any improvisation done, it was like, again, at a script level, like we were out in Australia early for prep, and like that, at that point, having the time to go scene by scene and have script conversations and maybe do little improvs and put them in. And then in the moment, I feel like it was advantageous that Dave and I both have backgrounds in comedy, and we can kind of trust like our innate sense of humor and our sense of humor as a couple to just exist. And like Dave said, that it just is about always playing the stakes in the moment. Like I don't remember us ever on set talking about the comedy, like land that beat or anything like that.
No, you guys just got it, and it was just like so clear from the get-go that it was going to work. And when I was writing it, I didn't initially sit down thinking I was going to make it kind of funny, but I just kind of got out of my own way because those are my instincts. My background is like exclusively in comedy, so I was trying to come from a realistic place. Like I said before, like if I had just cut my arm apart with my partner, I would want a little snack. Like I would be freaking out about blood sugar, which is just something I'm constantly doing. So yeah, I would definitely just want some leftovers.
All right, so the very last scene when the parents opened the door, who was that?
We call them Tilly. Well, the base of them is me. We shot me in the doorway in Dave's clothes with shoulder pads and a wig and brown contacts and Dave's eyebrows, which we had remade by this great makeup artist. And then we also shot Dave's face, and basically, you know, through the edit and through us kind of looking, it was a game of like, how much more Dave do we put in? I think it's his nose, his jaw, some of his mouth, definitely the Adam's apple. You know, we did like 2 test screenings before taking it to Sundance while we were still fiddling with the visual effects for that scene. And but we hadn't done the sound mix yet, so it was my voice, because we had shot me going, "Hey." And, you know, I would sneak into the back of these test screenings to hear all the feedback, but the audience members didn't know I was there. And so at one of them, the moderator is like, "And what'd you think of the final person? What did anybody think of them?" And this woman raises her hand and she goes, "I mean, it just looks like Alison Brie." And I turned to one of our producers in the back row and I was like, "That's the meanest thing anyone's ever said." And that's when we added a little more jaw and a little more Adam's apple.
yeah, our one qualm with the film is Tilly isn't very attractive.
Wish they were a little cuter.
When you know the prep that you had to do, and especially because you're living together and you could run lines in the middle of the night, you can talk about it any time, really bring a lot into it. So after shooting for 21 days of very intense and also very intimate film, what did you take away from it?
Well,
Should we go one word at a time?
I took away the Dave Franco puppet.
oh, that's right, you took away the puppet. I think it certainly made us analyze our own codependence and
High.
realize, yeah,
It's high.
It's pretty high. It's pretty high. Get closer.
God, what can I say? I mean, we just love working together so much, and we want to do it forever. We also don't want to burn you guys out on us, so we need to take breaks and do stuff with other people, but it's just so easy. She's just so good, and it's so easy to work off of her, and we just really lean on each other just emotionally. This can be a really vulnerable job sometimes, and so just to be able to lean on each other at the end of the day and keep each other from spinning out is really nice.
And outside of our relationship, I also just think that the whole experience was incredibly inspiring. Michael Shanks was very inspiring as a filmmaker. The things that he wanted to do in this movie were so ambitious, and he was so confident and self-assured. I felt like I left this process just, these days, so many films are IP, and they're just these big juggernauts. And thank you guys so much for coming out to see a film like this in the theater. That's an original idea. It's like, you know, I think just inspired by the innovation within filmmaking, and I feel like looking towards like work that I want to do in the future, I'm just like more like this.
Could you have asked for a better team? I mean, you're like.
No, absolutely not. These guys were a dream come true, and you know, thank you so much. It's the opening weekend of our fucking movie. It's crazy.
Well, we feel the same way about Shanks. He's just the most confident first-time director in the world. He came to set every day with this like childlike enthusiasm, which made us all just want to kill ourselves for him to help him achieve this vision. And he just, going back to just his ambition, like when we were looking at the script, we were like, there's no way you can make this movie in 21 days. And he didn't want to cut anything. And he was just like, we'll make it work. And he did.
All right, so a couple of announcements. If you could stay seated while we exit, that would really help us out a lot. But the bigger announcement is this. You're all sitting here, you're all sharing the experience of seeing this on the big screen. And you're right, Alison, this is not an IP, this is an independent movie. In order to get great independent movies made, people need to see them in theaters. So spread the word. And how do you spread the word? You go on social media, go on TikTok, you know, Instagram, Facebook, you're still using
Make a vine. Make a vine.
Bring it back.
But spread the word about Together. It's in theaters now. Thank you all so much for being here.
You guys, thank you for coming out. Hopefully, seriously.